What happens when the lifelines of a nation are struck in the silence of night? In Bucha, that question was answered in fire. A railway hub, one of the arteries feeding Kyiv's war effort, was hit by Geran UAVs, and within moments, the tracks and infrastructure were ablaze. The glow stretched for kilometers, an unnatural sunrise born from explosions. This was not just a disruption of trains, it was a message. Even the steel lines carrying supplies to the capital could be torn apart without warning. But if Bucha was burning, what about its neighbor? Minutes later, Irpin felt the same fate. Explosions cracked through the night, thick black smoke rising in columns that towered above the city. Residents pointed their cameras toward the sky, capturing the fiery arcs of drones descending into targets. And as the smoke spread, monitoring channels issued a chilling note. 18 more drones were still airborne. Could Kyiv's defenses really stop them all, or would more districts join the blaze before dawn? Each strike was more than a single explosion. It was a cut into Ukraine's logistics. For every hub twisted into wreckage, another troop movement was slowed. For every depot engulfed in fire, another resupply was delayed. The pattern was impossible to ignore. One night it was Bucha, the next Irpin, and tomorrow, who could say? The battlefield was no longer confined to trenches and forests. It had expanded to the very arteries of the state. And if the capital's suburbs were targeted, what of the south? Odessa soon provided the answer. The city, Ukraine's window to the sea, shook as 4 explosions thundered near the port. In Peresip, a massive blaze erupted, spreading with such intensity that parts of the city were plunged into blackout. Streetlights flickered out, neighborhoods sank into darkness, and the skyline glowed orange against the waves of the Black Sea. How long can a port under blackout remain a lifeline? In one night, 3 regions felt the hum of Geran's. Bucha's rails crippled, Irpin engulfed in smoke, Odessa thrown into chaos. The strikes left not just wreckage, but a chilling realization. No city, no hub, no artery was beyond reach. If Ukraine cannot secure its suburbs and cannot shield its ports, where is safe? But as these fires burned, another revelation surfaced, one that looked beyond today's battlefield. In late September, reports confirmed a new facility at Crimea's Kacha Airfield. Not just a launch site, but a production hub dedicated to the Geran UAVs. What does this mean? While Ukraine struggles to repair what burns, Russia is preparing to manufacture more of the very weapon that keeps the burning alive. And here, the question lingers. If today's strikes already stretch defenses thin, what happens when production in Kacha runs at full pace? The thought itself reshapes the battlefield, because Kacha is not an abstract point on the map, it is Crimea. And Crimea has already proven itself to be one of the war's most decisive fronts. When bridges were struck, when depots ignited, when airfields were hit in the dead of night, each episode reminded both sides that Crimea is more than contested territory. It is the artery that feeds Russia's military rhythm in the south. So what happens when that same territory becomes the birthplace of swarms of Geran drones? Imagine the irony. Ukraine's attempts to disrupt Crimea's logistics are answered by Russia, turning the peninsula into a launchpad for even greater pressure. The Kerch Bridge might burn and repair, depots might smolder, but every strike only hardens the resolve to multiply output. And in Kacha, that resolve is taking shape as steel and engines. Is this not a turning point? If Crimea could already absorb blows and continue operating as a logistical hub, what happens when it becomes the very source of endless drone sorties? Ukraine tried to choke Crimea into silence, but could it become the engine room of the war instead? Throughout 2025, we have witnessed how the Geran has become a shadow haunting the skies of Ukraine. From Bucha to Odessa, from railway lines to ports, every night carries a buzzing sound that never ceases. Explosion after explosion tears through logistics, cuts power, and instills an invisible fear. Yet, it seems that even as the year nears its end, Ukraine continues to struggle against this cheap drone. How can defenses, built at the cost of millions of dollars each night, be forced to counter a weapon purchased for only tens of thousands? In Bucha, destroyed railway lines mean delayed supplies. In Irpin, thick smoke covers the sky, signaling burned depots. In Odessa, blackouts disrupt the entire rhythm of a city that should serve as a logistics hub. The question arises, how long can Ukraine withstand this relentless pace before exhaustion sets in? And although the Geran is cheap, its impact is costly. Interceptors fired to shoot it down can be worth hundreds of times more than the drone itself. This attrition strategy turns every night into an economic test. Can Ukraine continue spending millions for every $1,000 drone? Or will the pressure gradually weaken their defensive capacity, paving the way for the next strike? Russia, day by day, keeps the pace, sending swarms of Geran across Ukraine's skies, striking supply lines, depots, and cities without pause. And so the question remains, what will happen next? How will Ukraine respond to this relentless pressure, and which targets will burn under the next wave? The answers will emerge from the battlefield itself, one night at a time. See you on another report from the battlefield. Thanks for watching.